So, among the rights of public armed vessels, one is visit, and the second one is relating to search, then seizure, and on regarding ownership of property as seized from sourceship. So, in that regard, also we would like to discuss the United Nations Convention on Law of 1982, those provisions relating to piracy as provided under Article 104, 105, 106, and 107. Then finally, we would like to discuss the continuing present and recent crisis, that is piracy in Somalia. And in relation to that also we would like to discuss the National Voluntary Coast Guard, which declared itself as, but they are actually the pirates, then Maritime Security Patrol Area Gulf of Aden, then the Combined Task Force of 150 nations role of Indian Navy in Gulf of Aden. So, regarding the very rights of public and vessel, we should like to discuss on piracy on high seas under part 2. A public and vessel has a right to search another vessel if there is a reasonable suspicion of piracy, or if she suspects that the vessel is engaged in activities against the safety of the state to which the public vessel belongs. Where pirates are caught at sea after committing robbery on land, the captor state has jurisdiction over them. And as regarding piratical acts authorized by government, so even an independent state may be guilty of piratical acts as the Magellan pirates. It was resolved at the Washington Conference in 1922 that any person violating the rules of international law even while acting under superior orders could be proceeded against in the court of any state as for acts of piracy. Then all warships are entitled to visit a vessel deemed to be piratical for the purpose of ascertaining her true character, whether the ship is engaged in piracy, in slave trade, in unauthorized broadcasting, is without nationality, or through flying a foreign flag is in reality of the same nationality as the warship, and to chase, capture, and bring her into the courts of their country for trial. A pirate loses the protection of the flag. And regarding the very ownership of property seized in piracy, a robbery by piracy does not deprive the rightful owner of his property, which has to be restored to him when recaptured. For example, under Section 5 of the British Piracy Act of 1850, all ships and goods taken possession of from pirates and proved to have belonged to any of her Majesty's subject or from subjects of any foreign power shall be restored by decree of the Admiralty Court to the former owners. And as regarding the very provisions of the United Nations Convention on Law of Seas of 1982, as provided under Article 104 AC for aircraft may retain its nationality, although it has become a pirate ship or aircraft, the retention or loss of nationality is determined by the law of the state from which such nationality was derived and further as provided on the high seas or in any other place outside the jurisdiction of any state. Every state may seize a pirate ship or aircraft or a ship or aircraft taken by piracy under the control of pirates and arrest the persons and seize the property on board. Further, as under Article 105 of the Convention, the courts be imposed and may also determine the actions to be taken with regard to ships, aircraft, or property subject to the rights of third parties acting in good faith. And as provided under Article 106, where the seizure of a ship or aircraft on suspicion of piracy has been effected without adequate ground, the state making the seizure shall be liable to the state the nationality of which is possessed by the ship or aircraft for any loss or damage caused by seizure as provided under Article 106 of the United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. Further, under Article 107 of the Convention, a seizure on account of piracy may only be carried out by warships or military aircraft or other ships or aircraft duly clearly marked and identifiable as being on government service and authorized to that effect. And now we would like to discuss the very current and the continuing piracy in Somalia has been a threat to international shipping since the early 21st century. Piracy has contributed to an increase in shipping cost and impeded the delivery of food and shipments. 90% of the world food program shipments arrive by sea and ships into this area now require a military escort. A United Nations report and several news sources have suggested that piracy off the coast of Somalia is caused in part by illegal fishing and the dumping of toxic waste in Somali waters by foreign vessels that have, according to Somali fishermen, severely constrained the ability of locals to earn a living and forced many to turn to piracy instead. Other articles allege to 70% of the local coastal communities strongly support the piracy as a form of national defense of the country's territorial waters, and that the pirates believing they are protecting their fishing grounds and exacting justice and compensation for the marine resources stolen. This belief is also reflected in the names taken on by some of the pirate networks such as the National Volunteer Coast Guard. However, as piracy has become substantially more lucrative in recent years, some reports are suggesting that financial gain is now the primary motive for Somali pirates. So the combined task force of 150 multinational coalition task force took on the role of fighting Somali piracy by establishing a maritime security patrol area within the Gulf of Aden. The increasing threat posed why piracy has also caused concern in India since most of its shipping trade routes pass through the Gulf of Aden. The Indian Navy responds to these concerns by deploying a warship in the region in October 2008. In September 2008, Russia had also announced that it too would join international efforts to combat piracy. By the first half of 2010, this increased policing efforts by Somali government authorities on land and international naval vessels at sea reportedly contributed to a very drop in pirate attacks in the Gulf of Aden from 86 in a year prior to 33, forcing pirates to shift attention to other areas such as the Somali Basin and the wider Indian Ocean. So, according to an expert, as of mid November 2010, more than 500 crew members and at least 31 foreign vessels remain in the hands of Somali pirates. So, piracy as an international concern no doubt diminished in its operation in the Gulf of Aden and it minimized by the combined task force of 150 multinational coalition task force also by establishing the maritime security patrol area within the Gulf of Aden and further. The Indian Navy and the Indian government contributed their lot in checking the Somali pirates by involving itself as India is one of the most navigating and shipping trade in the Gulf of Aden. So the very role played by the Indian Navy ultimately contributed in decreasing and diminishing the role of Somali pirates.